welcome to another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you fellas doing?
Doing all right, man. Congratulations to Mr. Andy Zoo for finally winning his championship. You know, Zoo, I was thinking today, man. You know what crossed my mind?
What?
Well, it's been 7-8 seasons?
Seven years. Hey, 2018.
Let's correlate that with your the biggest for anyone that's been watching for the last 5+ years this podcast, man. Andy is the biggest Chief bandwagoner of all time. So once the Chiefs started getting that invitational, he lost all of his fantasy football. The year the Chiefs end up crumbling, Zoo gets back to the championship game and finally secures a trophy. Oh, wow. Man. So, you got the trade-off, Zoo. You won the futures for 7 years straight, damn near, and you forfeited any chance at winning a fantasy football championship. But you got back to the promised land, man. So congratulations. And I broke even this year. Actually, I'm up $20 because of the payouts on our high scoring each week, man. I ended up profiting in one league, broke even in another, and unfortunately lost a shootout because Bijan Robinson couldn't drop 45 for me, man. Unbelievable. He stopped at a cool 40. So tough year for fantasy, man. Tough Bears week with that Sunday night football game, but feeling positive going into the NFL playoffs.
Absolutely. It's funny how you mentioned that. Because in the home league, it has been 7 years. I remember that team distinctly because that was a team led by Patrick Mahomes when he had his first start. And that was the last time I sniffed a championship because, I don't know, in the home league, I'm missing the playoffs, playing like a scrub, drafting poorly, making bad decisions. But, man, finally the cards roll when the cards had to roll. I finally got a championship. And not just one. I got 2 championships, baby. 2 out of 4 this year. 2 first place, up a G this year. It feels pretty good in fantasy football. I told you guys about last year when it was my worst fantasy football season my entire career. I never been more humbled my entire life when I was 0 for 4. I think I was 0 for 4 for the playoffs, man. That was so embarrassing. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm talking about being good at fantasy football and missing the playoffs. I'm not even making it in the playoffs, and I went 0 for 5. 0 for 5. So
bounce back.
Year, you know what they say about regression to me? I ain't that bad at fantasy football. So you got to collect some jewelry this year. 2 gold championships. The other one flamed out. Actually lost my 3rd place battle, so I came in 4th place in that league. But whatever. That team did fall off a cliff, but 2 gold rings, man. I'll take 2 gold championship. I was sweating, and not gonna lie, you need a little lady luck on your team when the other team starts scrubbing it up. So you're gonna need to benefit some luck when you win a championship. But that's all championship teams are built, man. You got to get a little luck and a lot of skill in there. But I'm blessed with the fantasy guys because not gonna lie, I'm not a man of God, but I did pray to the fantasy football gods right before my matchup, man. I'm telling you, I prayed. I was like, oh Lord, give me the strength of my teams. Both of my teams, give me the gold for both of them. I know I'm being greedy, God. I know I'm being greedy.
He's going to ask a lot of you now.
Yeah. I'll put in the
return's
work, man.
Gonna be crazy.
I'll wake up early to work. Next year. I was bargaining.
Regression to the mean next year. Let me tell you, Zoo.
I know, man. I'm nervous for next year, but I'm in the moment.
And enjoy it.
Not going to lie. I prayed, and the fantasy football gods delivered. They delivered with 2 Jahmyr Gibbs 5-point games. I had Jahmyr Gibbs in both leagues because I was just kind of scratching my head. It's over. It's over. It's over. Your best
Vikings
player
defense.
5 points. It's over. But I was able to recover. The other team sucked it up even more. So, plus fantasy football. This is one of those years where I got some dubs, man. But as you said, man, regression to me might hit me hard next year. But I'm gonna take the gold this year and move on. Get my
enjoy it.
I did, man. I did a little happy dance to that. I was like, oh, yeah. Didn't even
there you go.
Oh, I didn't even need to start Puka, man. Put him to the bench in one league. And I'm like, Stafford, 3rd interception. Let's go. Cut 3 interceptions.
That was insane. That game last night was crazy.
Falcons have been playing. 3 picks. I mean, their defense has been kind of good all year. But to do that to the Rams was...
Dude, they could have won the division if they just started Kirk all year. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Like... This league is kind of proven like these backups. Like look at Malik Willis.
Yeah,
3 total touchdowns.
He was awesome.
I think he's a way better athlete than Jordan Love. It's just like you're looking around at the Packers. It's like I don't know. I mean, if we get into the playoffs, do we necessarily want to take Malik off the field? Like, I mean, they are going to get to the playoffs. But I'm just saying, do we want to take him off the field? But for me, like to your point about the regression of the mean, I think for me in fantasy, it's like I think next year will probably be a nice breakthrough year because it's just the amount of second place finishes that I've gotten means it tells me one thing, like just keep your same draft strategy, which we'll be talking about later. Yep. And normally, like Zeus was talking about with the fantasy guys, it'll probably break my way because it's just like there's not going to be a situation where I see myself in a particular playoff game next year where it's like, God, I wish I had these guys. Like, I think my teams are still going to be strong. So,
yep.
We'll see how that plays out. But that was fantasy football we just talked about for the last couple of minutes. But this week coming here in week 18, this is the real deal football for a lot of teams who, I don't know, man, it's a lot of different playoff scenarios. Like a lot of the teams have been clinched, but there's a lot of different seeding and things of that nature. And there's some teams that can still get in. But we got a lot of different games and scenarios going on in week 18. So, P. Bush, which one is most interesting to you?
Well, we got two divisions, Sean. I'm sure you'll touch on one of them, being the NFC South. Got the AFC North up for grabs too, with what could end up being one of the most boring, important games of all time, with the Steelers Ravens. Tyler Snoop Huntley. Whether Lamar Jackson plays, I'm not sure on the status yet. I'm sure we'll know more on the Wednesday report where he's at in his recovery. But Snoop Huntley, man, he's been playing pretty well. I mean, we were just talking about it. You talked about Malik Willis too, Sean. I mean, so, Rodgers, they don't excite me. That team just does not excite me at all. I'll watch that game. It's Sunday night, classic, division matchup, obviously, but also a historical.
Pick the under
as well. Yeah. And you know what? Once again, Mike Tomlin finishing above 500, there's nothing else different, right? But he's not going to get
always,
wins. So, that game doesn't excite me too much, but it does have a lot of implications. Yeah. Seahawks-Niners should be a great game, but just the way the Niners are rolling, man, I just think even with the Seahawks defense, how unbelievable they've been this year, right up there with the Texans. I just think, I'm going to go home, man. I'm going to do my home one. Bears-Lions, man. This is a lot, maybe not with playoff implications. I do think the Bears need to lock up the number 2 seed so that they do not have to face either the Rams, the Niners, or I forget which 2 of the 3 in the NFC West, but they would have to face an NFC West team if they lost and the Eagles won against the Commanders this week, which I wholeheartedly believe they will win that game. But they do have the tiebreaker from the head-to-head. So this is a big game for the Bears. But more importantly, man, we got Ben Johnson potentially putting the nail in the coffin to Dan Campbell saying, yeah, you guys let me go, man. I know you weren't going to promote me and kick Dan Campbell out of there, but y'all went from 15-2 to potentially going under 500 if they lose this game, man, in 1 year. That is the most Lions thing ever. Obviously already out of the playoffs because of, and honestly, a choke job. I think we all, when they were sitting at like 8-5, they've lost 3 in a row, I think. I mean, to the Vikings, I know they were pretty much already out of it, man, but Jesus Christ, that's just bad. And the NFC is strong this year. But the thing I'm watching for, and the thing I'm waiting for, I got my Caleb passing touchdown future. That's great. But this man is 270 yards away from the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. I would love to see Ben Johnson get him that in the first year that they're working together, in his second year in the league. Really just that will signify so much for the Bears franchise in the next 10 plus years potentially. So this is just a big game, not only for the Bears seeding, and just kind of kicking it to your division opponent who kicked your ass earlier this year, 52-21.
Oh yeah,
but Jared Goff's got to come to Chicago, man. You ain't in that nice 72 degrees.
You're so right.
Cold. He's got to come out to Soldier Field, and it is brutally cold, gentlemen. I'll tell you that right now. I've been outside a few times today, so I'm sure that'll hold through the weekend. So not a huge game for both teams. I think there are better matchups, but I do think this could end up being a really electrifying, fun game to watch. Whether or not the Lions end up playing everybody. I just hope Jahmyr gives another 6-point fantasy performance, even though it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mentioned like the 270 passing yards, right? Like
very attainable.
I think of like historically. I didn't think of that like even historically, like the Bears history.
Never had one
done before. So maybe the coach is a little more incentivized to help his player break some history. So I feel like Ben Johnson's that type of guy. Be like, I was a guy that was able to get a quarterback in Chicago Bears history to hit 4,000 yards. So I thought an historical mark, they might be calling some more passing plays. I'm just like, because you're talking about like wins and losses for the playoff position. Not much going on. Like they already locked up their positioning. Like they already won the division.
They could lose.
Yeah.
to the 3rd seed. They could drop.
Exactly. But you already guarantee playoffs with the division. Yep. So those are the two most important things that coming into the season. Like, let's first make the playoffs, and now we won the division. Oh, that's some whipped cream right there, like locking down the division. So I'm like, I feel like right out there, but okay, let's goose the numbers a little for a little Caleb passing and just preparing him for the playoffs where you might be in situations where you're going to be down games, right? And you can't be abusing the run. So that's good practice of showing, okay, Caleb, you might be playing against a good, like, you got to be able to carry your team back instead of playing against cupcake defenses and killing them. So, like, obviously in the playoffs, you're playing against a little more elite defenses. So I feel like, okay, let's push Caleb up there for those passing years. I would not be mad at that because we have the same futures bet for Caleb Williams hitting the 4,000 yards. And, it's right there. 270 is, I feel like if it's like a 250, 255, I'll be like, oh my God, so close, just like right there. But I feel like there's some extra incentive of breaking history. You might do some different play calls. So that's a great one right there. For me personally, I'm looking at just playoff matches right now. I know you said that, like, okay, this game's going to be probably boring. I guarantee you it's boring. But the Steelers and Ravens, man, I'm just like, wow, this is a win or go home type of game. Because I was actually watching that Browns like Steelers game because I had fantasy implications in that game. So I was watching that game. I was like, oh my, the Steelers offense, like obviously DK Metcalf being a knucklehead and pretty much getting him suspended for these must-win games. That, like, if they won, they guarantee a playoff position with that game. You think about it, guarantee playoff. I took the bye.
I took Brown's money line. I called that last week. I was like, I'm very tempted to do it.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, they have.
It was their Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm like, it is their Super Bowl, and for the Steelers, it was you get the playoffs and you get the bye. Like, I'm like, that's just, and you fumbling that, and now I feel like after that, Aaron Rodgers didn't even look that good that game. Just focusing on, like, I think Marquez, Valdez-Scantling a couple times. I think it's over for them. But with this Ravens team, where you see King Henry now, he had one of those legendary games where, like, we forgot how great King Henry is. And when it gets colder and when it gets playoff time, we see the King eat more. Like, he's a slow starter, and he just turns it up when the weather gets colder because everybody else
is diet.
Weather. Yeah, he's a little different, man, because he might be at that age cliff right now. Oh, no. You dropped 200 plus with 4 touchdowns? Jesus Christ.
That outperformed JT this year. That outperformed JT.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, him closing the game. Like, Derrick Henry has looked every bit as Derrick Henry as he been in his career. So I feel like that's the type of game where he could dominate right now, where, as you mentioned, it's going to be a slow-paced game, but dominate the run, backup quarterback. Lamar's probably not – he might not play this year. Like, that's a potentially that might happen.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I'm telling you, man. It's not a guarantee that Lamar comes back, so it's like, it would just be good for the Ravens just to make the playoffs. But, like, I don't think anybody wants to see the Steelers in the playoffs. I'm sorry, man. Like, the Steelers in the playoffs, does anybody want that outside of Steelers Nation right there? So for me, I'm rooting for the Ravens to get the job done because I also have a futures bet. So come on, Ravens, let's win that division, please. Even though that was supposed to be a guarantee pick right there. So absolutely, I'm ready to see the King eat, and against the Steelers team where I'm just like, it's the same old team. Like, it's just the same old team. Like, and Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the guy to be that QB upgrade from Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, to win these big-time games against the Browns last weekend. Kind of was mediocre.
They needed Pickens, man. They needed Pickens.
Yeah, you shouldn't about Pickens was having a career season. So I'm just like, looking at that roster right now, Steelers, I don't want to see them in the playoffs. So I'm rooting for the Ravens to make the playoffs over them, personally. So one game to decide it all. So it will be playoff atmosphere.
Sure.
Yeah, the Steelers is just kind of the whole regime, and I know they don't believe in a lot of change, but it's kind of run its course, I feel like. And we can always salute Tomlin getting to, one game or 2 games over 500. But to your point, it's just kind of a little bit more stale. And I think maybe if they drafted QB well and they had like a game changer at that position, then it would maybe be the extra 2 wins you would get a year and make that division with Burrow and Lamar a little bit more interesting. But like you said, there's a slim chance Lamar comes back, and if he does, he's going to be compromised. So both of those teams, it's kind of like if they do get in, it's like we'll see what happens. But for me, obviously, it's the NFC South, only because like I've been betting on the Panthers for the last 2 weeks, just trying to see if they can, get me to a point where, hey, I can maybe trust them in future bets. Now, I will say they've been 1-1, considering this last week didn't go as well. But I just think there's obviously the win and you're in. But a lot of that changed with Atlanta beating the Rams, because when I was reading today, it's like, Carolina, even if they do lose, if the Saints, or not the Saints, but the Falcons beat the Saints, then I think Carolina gets in. And I think if Tampa Bay, even if they do win, they still, I think, need the Saints to beat the Falcons to get in. So it's a lot of things that have changed since I was thinking about it yesterday. But I'm also just looking at it from, that head-to-head always matters. But to me, I always look at, like, what are the storylines going to be of, like, outside of it? Like, of course, win-lose. Teams get in, teams don't. But, like, if from the Carolinas perspective, I've talked about this before. I was actually at the game last week, and I was watching Bryce play against Seahawks. I know the Seahawks defense is pretty nasty. But you just kind of look at Bryce, and it's just like, I don't think he can be ever. And I know there's Brock Purdy, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I also got to give people a quick reminder. It is Kyle Shanahan. I don't think Brock Purdy does that in a lot of offenses. It's not like Brock Purdy is just this guy who's like could just go around and be malleable everywhere. And that's my point about Bryce. Like, I don't know. Like, if he was with Kyle Shanahan, maybe he'd be even better. Who knows? But everybody doesn't have that luxury. So I'm looking at Bryce at where he is currently. And it's like, yeah, he's a number one pick. You picked him up with CJ Stroud. A lot of people are like, oh, how'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Whatever. But it's like, if they don't get into the playoffs, and I think to a degree, like if they do get in, like nobody thinks they're going to make noise, so they could be one and done, and it doesn't really matter. But it's just like you can kind of sell, like, hey, we got in the playoffs with them, so here's some momentum. You got to start asking questions of like, okay, what do we do? Because I think all of us know, we watch football long enough. It's like guys who are that short and that small normally don't pan out, and the reason why is because they're not an extreme athlete. And the thing with Bryce, it just feels like sometimes it's like, it's just sometimes out there on the foot, it just looks like it's difficult for him to make like the easy throws. And now that you got a guy like Ted who has the potential to be really, really, really good, you kind of don't want to waste that potential that you have. So it's like if you maybe could get another quarterback that maybe fits the standard of what you want to do, that might be a possibility. So I think that's an outcome. I think with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I still believe in Baker somewhat, but you kind of want to see what you are offensively. And I don't know if you could say Tom Bowles, because I think he's a great defensive coach. And I think because his defense usually plays to a top notch, that it would be kind of silly to maybe get rid of him. So I wouldn't be going in that direction. But you kind of want to figure out what, at least going into the next year, like what your identity is going to be. Because, of course, Emeka, we think is still going to be a star, but he kind of had a tailspin towards the end of the season. I don't even want to say kind of, he did.
He did.
Fell off.
Mike Evans, more than likely, maybe has 1 or 2 years left. He's still going to probably want to play and redeem this season. But you kind of want to see like what direction they go. Like I say, you still think they're going to stay with Baker, but I just think there's a lot of different storylines, more so pertaining to the Panthers, of like, what is this going to be? What is our direction going to be at quarterback? Because to me, it's too many guys. Like I just brought up Malik Willis before the pod. It's like, bro, like there's guys in this league, depending on coaching, but like there are guys in this league who are very capable. And let's just say if Malik Willis, how he's been playing with the Packers, if he was a Panthers starting quarterback, I almost want to guarantee they would have had this division wrapped up by like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I don't want to be a hypocrite, because same thing I just said about Brock Purdy. Now I just thought about it. Could kind of say it about Malik Willis because he's under LaFleur. So sometimes situations happen, and if the Panthers, which Green Bay would never do, but it's like if you had a LaFleur, Malik Willis package to bring to Carolina for infinite amount of draft picks, I mean, I'm sure Carolina would probably do it because that's a great combo to probably have for your leading franchise. But I think that's the most enticing and most interesting, because I just think there's going to be a lot of fallout from it. And I don't know what Carolina would do. I know what I would do, but Carolina, I don't know if they would have the gumption to maybe move on from Bryce, because it's kind of obvious. I mean,
winning a weak division, Sean, it always pushes those questions out there too. Like, oh, great, you won the division, but you were 9-8. Like
Shuck looks good. Tyler Shuck looks kind of good. Really, so like, you don't want to get left
really
behind.
Good. Him and Olave
get left behind.
Good combo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Saints are going to be, and the Falcons are going to be right in the mix too. I mean, their quarterback situation is kind of set for next year with Penix. I don't know where he's going to be in his recovery, but they might roll with Kirk. I don't know, unless he's cut eligible and they save a ton of money. But that whole division is very jumbled around like 7-10 to 10-7. That can be their range at this point.
Yeah. And NFC South always just is hot garbage for the most part. So it's just to my point, like, okay, the Panthers do get in. It's like, what would they be? They would get a home playoff game, right?
Yep.
And it's like, who would they play? I don't even know.
Probably either the Seahawks or the Niners.
Curtains.
Good luck.
Curtains.
Agreed.
Curtains. I would love to see that spread. I would love to see that. What that spread would be.
But if it's the Seahawks, we saw what they just did to them. So
yeah, it was 7.5, and that was a little too low. Yeah. Even though they battled the first half, but yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing. That's where I'm looking at. So we'll see. Like I said, week 18, this I will say if you're a TV exec guy and you're going by numbers and ratings, this is pretty awesome because you got a lot of interesting games going into the final week. So I guess the NFL was right about giving us this extra week. Who knows? So we will transition now into what we were just talking about at the beginning of the pod with fantasy football. There's always a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of things you can learn, a lot of things you can maybe take into the new year with your team that you'll be trying to construct, or some things you're like, I'm never doing that again. So, Zoo, what are some things you learned this fantasy season?
Mm-hmm. For me personally, man. I'm looking at these first 2 round picks, man. First 2, like, it is really, really hard to overcome missing a first and second round pick. And I think one thing that majority of the fantasy community on ADPs in the first round was that Christian McCaffrey ADP, man. Because I think consensusly that CMC ADP, I remember coming in this, I didn't have him ranked as high as normally, but I didn't have him as low as consensus, but he was consensus number, I think 6 or 7 overall.
Yep.
If you look at that, getting CMC at that bar, because if you look at the 2 seasons, I remember looking at this 2 seasons before the season coming in. CMC the year before coming into the season, he came with some ankle or some lower leg injury coming into game 1, like week 1. He had an injury coming into the season, while relative to this year, he didn't come with an injury. We just thought of the injury from last year was going to be, this guy's completely broken down. Yep. But this year, he had a great training camp. Everything said, like, his surgery was amazing. Like, there was no, I would say, negative, like, news coming out of training camp saying that this guy was coming and injured. And what did he do? CMC was the definitive league winner again at the running back position, and you got him at a ridiculous discount. I think majority, if you're in multiple leagues, you probably had multiple opportunities to get the number 1 player overall who, like, no one was surprised. Is anyone really surprised that CMC dropped 22 fantasy points a game? No, nope. This guy's the best fantasy football player in the modern era. Like, in the when he plays, he averages 22 plus a game. So
he's RB1 or RB2 every year. He's
every time he's healthy, this is what he does. And I feel like we thought about the injuries from the past, because I think you got to look more isolate season by season, because it's very cyclical with these types of players and workload from the previous year versus the workload of this year. Last year, he didn't play many games. So that body, even though he was injured, he didn't have that workload of having I call it the Saquon touches, the King Henry, that DeMarco Murray touch, because I think that has substantial impact of the next year. In the year before, if he has 300, 400 carries and he's breaking records, aka Saquon Barkley did last year, I'm going to fade you because your human body of withstanding that many touches, I think that is a significant reason of fading a player relative. He just got injured last year, and this year he's coming in completely healthy. He bounced back, and he was the RB1 overall again, averaging 22 points a game, and he low-key was he was like a receiver one too, with the number of catches
low end,
this guy does. So I'm telling you right now, like, I think everybody on this pod had the opportunity to take CMC, including me, and I took CeeDee Lamb over this dude. What a bozo! It took CeeDee Lamb over Christian McCaffrey. I'm scratching my head. I was like, gee, that is a sin. That is an absolute sin, because even though if I still had CMC lower the RB, I had Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs in front of him. If I had CMC after those 2 young pups, because I'm taking a younger guy over the older guy, but taking a receiver one, as much as I love CeeDee Lamb, I'm like, CMC is that is a generational guy.
Oh, yeah.
And looking like this age thing doesn't really bother him either, because this dude is 29 years old, and he just dropped maybe a potential OPOY season.
He probably did win OPOY.
So That's for me. You got to isolate injury seasons and off season from the previous year and this year, even though the previous year outcome does really, really matter. But I think you got to look at the workload. Because for me, I think workload, I think a lot of us are like, for me, Saquon, that was a fade on me. Because I remember I was like, Saquon, that was an easy fade for me.
We all faded him, I think.
Just because of the workload.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Like, just because of that workload. Because 2,000-yard season, him doing that again, what are the odds of that? None. So,
minimal, yeah.
You want an all-time season. CMC was that all-time season this year. So,
which is crazy if you think about that, because Saquon, you know, they make the Super Bowl run, so you're thinking, all right, he got all those touches through February. The man was really kind of chilling for 6 months, and it still has an impact. And that just shows you, like, and specifically for the wide receiver position or the running back position. If you look at a usage in like wide receiver, like Jamar Chase last year, his usage was crazy, or Trey McBride this year. You're not fading that type of positional player because of usage year over year. It's just that running backs are always getting hit, whereas wide receivers and tight ends can avoid
the touches. Like the human body withstanding, no matter if you're built like Derrick Henry or whatever, like the number of touches will wear on your body.
So I guess we know Zoo's fading Christian McCaffrey next year because of all the touches he's had this year.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I love the guy, but I'll be very nervous next year because of the touches.
I agree. But if there is one guy that you have to consider getting through something like that, it's Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey.
Those guys are built.
Derrick Henry's healthier historically.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey, to your point, most of his injuries have been leading into the season, coming from OTAs, training camp, etc. Maybe even lingering from the year prior. And you know, unfortunately, you've taken a guy like Malik Neighbors at the 1-2 turn, right? And you just get absolutely screwed for a guy that was projecting to end up probably having a top 7 wide receiver season.
100%. Even
with the QB carousel that they had, I think Jackson Dart would have really benefited, and we saw what Wan'Dale Robinson had an unbelievable season for his ADP draft value. It's a great point too. I think, you know, I agree. CMC is the MVP. I think if JT and the Daniel Jones injury and all that, he would have been right up there with him. I think CMC's receiving though is really the difference maker. And if you played him if you have him in PPR, man, you were locked into the championship game unless you just got screwed by, I don't know who was dudding, maybe Drake London. But I mean, and you know, I guess before I say that, I mean, we got to talk about Justin Jefferson, man, because I think this is just a theme that you have to take into account when drafting wide receivers, man. Like, they aren't running backs, right? We always talk about, like, I was fading Genty this year, right? That's a running back on a bad team. But a running back can still have, even though he didn't have a great season, he still had an RB2 season. He was definitely below his ADP based on return on ADP. However, he can still have those pop games because of his usage and because of his receiving ability. When you're looking at a wide receiver, man, I mean, I know some people might point to Jamar Chase, you know, and his quarterback situation. Obviously, he got Burrow back. They brought in Flacco. But that's the point, is they did some things for him and for the team so that they had a potential chance to be in playoff contention. It just didn't pay off. But with Justin Jefferson, man, like, J.J. McCarthy, he had that one really – I mean, he had the week 1 against the Bears, and everyone was super hype on him. And that, you know, the 9 came out, and that was the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but – and then he got hurt, you know, whether you call it soft benching or he was actually hurt. He had concussion. I think he had an ankle injury, etc. They just never got into a flow. And that's something that I think in hindsight, it's easy to say, hey, you should have seen this coming for Justin Jefferson. He was playing with J.J. McCarthy, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Well, people that faded him last year because of Sam Darnold, right, would have had the same reasoning, and it paid off for him, right? So, you know, as a JJ owner last year, he was great. He was super consistent with Sam Darnold, a quarterback that was not had high expectations going into the season. So I think my point is, a lot of people that are hating on, like, oh, why did I draft Justin Jefferson? Well, you never really know. And I think that's the thing with fantasy, is it's always about hindsight. But I think the guarantee that you can consider with fantasy is that, so you made your point, you got to hit your round 1 draft pick. And if you miss that, it is really hard to climb out. But you can hit with some later end ADP guys, like this year was Etienne, the Javonte Williams, George Pickens. Jameson Williams was a very good ADP value draft pick as well this year. But your round 2, 3 is the biggest draft picks in my opinion. Zoo, we were just talking about it. You had Brian Thomas Jr. and AJ Brown on your 2. Oh, there's another lesson. I don't think you're going triple wide receiver ever again.
I'm telling you, man. I look at that draft. I'm like, I can't believe I know why I did it. I'm passing on Devon A. Chain because of the injury coming in here, but I'm like, you need a running back. You just
exactly. But my point is that you made trades to make up for that.
Yeah,
but
I did.
That round 2, 3, and here's where this is my biggest point that I'm taking out of this fantasy season. And honestly, it's not the first time either. Those are the 2 rounds where players move up year over year based on height. They never really move up directly to round 1, right? Very rarely do you see that. You might see that with JSN this year over year, but we didn't see that last year, for example. But we saw guys like Brian Thomas Jr., we saw guys like Ladd McConkey, Bucky Irving. A lot of these guys that moved up to in that 2-3 round turn where you're like, okay, yeah, they had a great year last year. And I'm not only pointing to guys going into their sophomore year. I think those 3 I just happened to pick out there. Awesome. But, there are others as well. And you could argue A.J. Brown was up there too, in that conversation. He ended up bouncing back just because of their offensive scheme. But you kind of want to take, and I don't want to say like reach, but in hindsight, I did make a draft pick in early round 3 where I picked Kamara. I thought he was going to have a much better year this year. I could have reached and taken a James Cook, knowing that he has more guaranteed value in that offense. But I just thought it was too big of a leap, right? He was projected round 4 in most. I was in early round 3. I'm like, I can't really do it, But picking the guaranteed guy, and guarantee is a hard word to use in fantasy football. But I should say this: the safer floor, right, is probably the better way to put it. And usually that ties to how much you expect out of the offense that player is on. And I think taking for Bucky, the big thing was they lost Liam Cohen, right? That was the big thing that people should have considered when drafting him. Obviously, he had the injury, but still, looking at Ladd McConkey, right? Crowded wide receiver room. They even brought in a rookie in Trey Harris. He didn't get as much usage early on, but who would have thought Quentin Johnson was going to have the year? They also brought in Keenan Allen. You should have seen that it was getting crowded in target share, right? Things like that. Brian Thomas Jr., you could argue the same thing. New offense.
Receiver room, Parker Washington, all these guys.
What I would say is in a completely new offense where you're bringing in an offensive-minded head coach, you're safer to draft the running backs over the pass catchers because the running backs are guaranteed usage. We just talked about the amount of touches that they have compared to outside players. And you could make the same argument there. You should have drafted DeAndre Swift over any one of the Bears wide receivers, right? With a new offensive coach, knowing who he was and where he came from. So I think people just need to consider offensive schemes. If you really want to get good at fantasy football, I think you got to learn the coaches that are coming in year over year, any changes that are being made to the coaching staff, and just target share and running back room share. I think you have to take that into account. It wouldn't have changed my opinion on Bijan, for example, if I knew that Algier was going to be a wrecking ball in the red zone this year. But that did take away his RB1 upside. He could have been right up there with CMC, JT, etc. if you take that out. So, it's a give and a take. It's hard to understand going into a season, but I do think that people can take a little bit more research seriously, not just on player quality and historical performance, but where the team is at specifically and the personnel that they have in the building. That's the biggest. And that's usually where round 2 and 3, that's where the decisions come into play and where you might have to reach for safer floors.
I'm with you with like looking at the coaches and just maybe doing, you don't have to do like intensive research, but like just a little bit of scouting of like, okay, this coach, where did he come from? What did he have? What was his play calls? What is his system? Whatever. It's good to just maybe skim over that because then to you, or not to you, but anybody who's playing, that could be a pretty good prediction of like, okay, this is how this is going to go. So I may need to reach for this player who might not even be a star, but like if you see a free agent pickup, it's like, oh, he's picking up that back because that back is a similar type of back he had, a year or two ago when he was coaching with that team. So that's a great point.
That's a prime example. Yep.
Very good point. And I was low on Avante too, but for me, it's obviously the ones I always go to, like tight end for me. I'm absolutely done, even though it didn't really burn me this year. I'm done even just the best tight end that's in the league right now. Just not going to ever value it again. Just not. Harold Fannin Jr. with the Browns, who was like it is probably one of the, the Jets probably had a worse quarterback situation maybe, but like the Browns is up there and Shador finally got into a rhythm. He started playing whatever, up and down. But like Harold Fannin Jr., who was really good in college, but like he comes in and is just catching everything. Like he's a viable starting option. No one knew about him except for the guys who watch college football and knew he was a good player in college football, and nothing to do with fantasy, just looking at him like, hey, he's a really good football player. I mean, I don't know how he's going to do in fantasy, but he's really good at college football, and I think he'd be an asset to the Browns. He's like, what, top 5? What are you going to finish?
Top 5. Like, he finished as a top 5 tight end this year.
So with fantasy, I'm never going to listen to anybody tell me about, well, tight end is where I'm just over it. Like, you can just find the value. You can always
Trey McBride's the only exception.
Yeah, and maybe. Like,
not if he goes first or second round, I ain't touching
I'm out. Yeah.
Bowers
too. I love you. Bowers, I love you. I love you, but now this is funny. I've been contradicting myself a lot this year. But to your point about the second and this podcast, what's funny is the second and third round value you're talking about need to hit that. So like for me, when I was looking at at least my 2 drafts I really cared about, like the guys that I got in the second and third round for the last 2 to 3 years, and I'd have to go back, but like the last 3 years I know in both of these leagues, I've always made the playoffs. And like for this year, in that one of those leagues I had Drake London and Jalen Hurts was in the rounds 2 and 3, made the playoffs. And then my other league, it's like, if I can get to it, but like in my other league, my other second and third round was Josh Allen and Brock Bowers. Now, Brock Bowers was hurt, but I do understand P. Bush's point of like, yeah, you do want to hit on that first round, but you really, really need to smash second and third because that's just going to create the depth. Because it almost feels like if you, and I don't know this for a fact, but I almost feel like if you hit those 2 rounds, it almost feels like the rest of your draft is just going to kind of fall into place with like guys that you didn't even expect you to get. And I feel like with but like league sizes, this varies. But I'm also still a very big proponent on with just now, and I think going forward it's going to be interesting because everybody gets older, players age, things happen. But I wonder what the value will be still on guys like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts going into next year in terms of do we reach on that guy? Like say if it's in for me, a 14-team league, like I always reach on quarterback in that league. Like I always either have for the last 4 years, I've always either got Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts in like that second round. But every year I've done it, I made the playoffs. So for me, it's like, I think it maybe depends on your league size and how you want to do that. I'm still always a big proponent with those 2 guys. Like Lamar, maybe Joe, like you're testing, you're kind of playing around. Like, I don't know if you want to do that because
absolutely not injury risk, man.
Drake May could be, and I was about to bring it up. Drake May is a possibility just because I think the Patriots can get even better in terms of their skill guys. And their skill guys are pretty good right now, but they can get even better weapons considering like where they're drafting and what could happen. And Josh McDaniels, who's just a savant when it comes to young quarterbacks, but he's a possibility. I would maybe, if I had to give me an answer right now, like probably not, just because it's like he's not as dynamic as a runner as those others do.
Yeah.
But like, maybe a year from now, and we're talking about this in the same situation, like he could possibly get into that, realm of Josh and Jalen. But it's like, I'm never mad at anybody. And again, like I said, it depends on league side, but I'm never mad at anybody who's like, I took a chance on Josh Allen at the turn at the end of the second round. Or like I took a chance on Josh Allen like 2 picks before that. Like I'm not mad at it because Josh Allen is and Jalen Hurts to an extent this year. It's been tailed off a little bit, but for the most part, he's just more of a floor guy. Like Jalen Hurts is always going to give you. He didn't have like the Josh Allen game, like where it's like a dud. But he also this year hasn't had like the explosive Josh Allen game. So it's like with those 2 guys, you just always know it's a guaranteed 20 to whatever your scoring system is, 25, maybe even 30. And I just think that's very valuable because I think with a lot of fantasy, sometimes it's so volatile. And depending on your league, if you got a lot of really good guys in the league who can play and girls, like those Josh Allen weeks and those Jalen Hurts weeks with their 35 points, that could shift you into the playoffs. Like this year in my 14-team league, like outside of 2 teams, everybody was like 6-8, 8-6, 7-7, and like those 1 games could shift it. So to me, I still love that philosophy. Now, this is a philosophy that I'm willing to change because, again, Josh Allen's going to get older. Jalen Hurts is going to get older. This is not something you just carry over and be like, well, whoever's the best quarterback in the league, you just know. These are for generational type talents where high rushing upside, high passing TD upside, high, ability to make a big play. type of guy. So, this is what I'm very quick on. But what I'm very, very stern on is I'm just not reaching for tight end ever again. I'm just not doing it. I was looking at that today. I was like, Harold Fannin finished top 5. Like, what? Like, I'm done.
He was a waiver guy.
Stop covering it.
Yeah.
Stop covering
he was a waiver guy in 14-team league. So not even in traditional format. So it's crazy. You could get these guys randomly because a lot of these late end tight ends, you just can't predict these outputs.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. Like, definitely.
And I don't.
First 3 rounds, I ain't touching a tight end ever.
No.
I almost wonder too, like, the last point I want to make on fantasy part is like, also never, like, I was a victim of the Christian McCaffrey, like, injury bug. And it was just like, I'm not touching him because he just gets injured all the time. And I still don't regret it because I made the playoffs and I had a chance. But it's like, you kind of sometimes maybe need to give it like 2 years for like guys who have produced. Like ETN is a perfect example. Like, it was a lot of just like, I'm out on him, and it's just like, can we just if the guy has another bad year, maybe not draft him high, but it's like where I was getting him at, it's like he's not like what year 10 for him. Like, people thought he was like year 10 and he's just like he's out, young. He's washed. And it's like, bro, he's still kind of relatively young. He's a pass catching back, which is always just, even if you're mid, it's still high upside because you can catch passes. So it's like sometimes with those guys, like, I don't know who that guy would be this year who kind of underperformed. But
underperformed. It's it's always an underperformer. Young guy that underperformed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give anybody like, tip, because I know you and people are in the same league. So like tip the scale and see who's going to be picking. But it's like, you can spot those guys this year. And it's like, I think I may be able to get value for him because people are going to underrate him because he maybe had.
Oh, absolutely. You got a list going, Sean.
Yeah. So, yeah. But fantasy, the reason why I love it and the reason why we all hate it is because it's fun to strategize. It's fun to play with your friends, and it's fun to just figure out how you're going to attack it next year. Like I said, now I'm not so hardcore where it's, February and I'm looking around like, I usually am like, okay, I'm picking it up in like June, but like,
I heard July 4th this year, Sean. Are we moving up a month?
Listen, reason why I'm moving up is because, listen, you can't keep finishing in second place and not like have to adjust your schedule in terms of how you scout. Like, I gotta listen. If I want to get first place next year, I gotta move it up a month.
Here's the reason why, though. I moved up my calendar more so because of Dynasty more than anything, and it just kind of bleeds into it because I do my rookie analysis in like June, right? Because you're kind of seeing like, where did they land? Because like before the draft, I'll be like, here's like some good offensive guys I want to keep in mind. Then you see where they land. Then you kind of see the depth chart after free agency, and then you're like, okay. Sure, we're going to see how preseason plays out, etc. But for dynasty purposes, you got to draft rookies separately. And Fannin went undrafted in my rookie draft, so he will be up for free agency auction this year. He's going to be so expensive, it's not even funny. And I will not be drafting him. I got my boy Brenton Strange.
Yeah, I'm about to say there's a lot of value on that. He's another guy. If he didn't get hurt, he probably would have been up there too. Because he's always found a way to
for sure
get that synergy with Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, that fantasy. You hate it, you love it, but a lot of people are getting involved, and it's always fun to just fuss and discuss about what we want to do with that. So going into our last topic, we will be getting into our bets, and Peebles, you can lead us off.
Man, beautiful week. One of my best weeks this year, absolutely. Trevor Lawrence, saying thank you for the 2 rushing touchdowns. He saved me. But my big winner, I won a nice little 250 piece on a $3 entry there.
Ooh.
Tyler Shug. Chris Olave stack.
Oh, the Olave, man.
Just beautiful, man. I had a couple duds as well. I think my Jackson Dart one was okay. But, Singletary stole a touchdown. I think they had a pick 6 as well. So, you just got to hit on the cheap quarterback plays, man. It's, you win some and you lose some. Real quick, I just wanted to say this real quick on the fantasy side. I think I don't know if it'll work out next year on a 2-3 turn, but stacking Josh Allen and James Cook might be the safest play. And I should have done that this year, but I overthought it. It just came into my mind because one of my plays this week is
That's
James.
Funny you mentioned that because when Sean mentioned like second round Josh Allen, because I was in the camp, he's a 3rd round dude. Like I had a rule in my head, but if you're in a league with 1 flex and it's 1 QB, 1 tight end, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, you can pull that trigger with Josh Allen in a 1 flex league where this, as you mentioned, his upside is ridiculous and his floor is QB2 overall. Like, if you look at it's funny. I was just updating my spreadsheet this year for fantasy football stats, just for a fantasy recap. I'm looking at Josh Allen, QB1 last year, QB2, QB1, QB2, QB1. The dude has averaged over 23 fantasy points for the last half decade.
That's crazy.
23. And you look at the average of that position, and it's a good, if you have an average QB, it's 18, 19 a game. That's very good.
That's so good.
You have a 4-point advantage at a singular position, a onesie position. If you're in a 10-team league, oh man, like
cheese.
Less team league. Oh man, you smash like at the second round. At first, I was like, second round. But now he's going like if sometimes the second round, early third, you don't even get the opportunity to take him this year because I was ready to pounce third round. He was gone.
Snatched.
He was gone in every single one of my leagues. He was gone.
I wonder what the stat is.
Going in the second, and he was going early third.
I wonder what the stat is if you draft Josh Allen, like your chances of making a playoff.
Oh, I've never missed. You want to hear a stat? This is based on ESPN's like playoff percentage, like win rates. Josh Allen, if you had Josh Allen on the team, he was one of the 10 most valuable players in fantasy football this year. So based on just based on the win percentage, you can make an argument he was a first round pick.
I was gonna say he might go early second round next year, which is just crazy. And that might be a little too rich for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like I take a Brian Thomas Jr. who busts. I take a Marvin Harris. I just take these young stud receivers. I think it'll be awesome. I just take the safe guy, Josh Allen, just call it a day and stop doing my research with these receivers because I keep whipping on them. I keep whipping.
So really, we know Zoo's going Trey McBride, Josh Allen, round 1-2 next year. The safest and the two hardest positions. But you know what? Looking at this week, it is a big game for the Bills, right? But I'm fading. This is a Josh Allen trap game right here, playing against the Jets. Come on, man. This is a James Cook game written all over it. Heck, you might even get a little Ty Johnson action. I wouldn't be surprised if he might steal a little touchdown here or there. But I'm going to go with James Cook as one of my RBs. I also really like Travion Henderson going up against Miami. I know Bucky didn't have a great game last week, and Miami's defense has actually been decent, but we saw what Ramondre Stevenson did last week. I think Travion's like, come on, man, where's my touchdowns? And they might give them to him later on the year. And at 6,100 for a 1A running back, they still price him higher than Ramondre. I'm all in on that this week in a juicy matchup. For a seeding game, the big theme that you'll see here is I'm not trying to touch any of the games that do not matter, right? Because you got unless incentives.
There's a lot of them.
I will do a lot of research this week on incentives because I do think if you're going to play on the dud games, you got to target the incentives for that reason. I almost threw in Justin Jefferson, but I couldn't do it, man, because he's like 70 yards short of 1,000 to keep that streak going. But I can't start him, man. Not even with JJ potentially playing this week. I just can't do it. Devontae Smith against Washington. You can also throw in AJ Brown. He's just $1,000 more. I like in a game that means nothing. I think if a team's going to try, it's going to be guys trying to in rookies that are just trying to get good playing time. Jackson Dart with Wan'Dale Robinson, one of my key wide receiver plays against Dallas defense. That could be absolute barbecue chicken zoo. Jaden Higgins against the Colts. This is kind of just a big game for seeding. The Texans are kind of strangleholding that fifth seed if they can win this game against the Colts. I think they'll do everything to stop Nico Collins. Jaden Higgins has been a solid receiver. And kind of on the back end, also going with another Patriot. At the flex position, I'm going to play Hunter Henry, man. He's a guaranteed 50. It's just crazy, man. Like in PPR, non-PPR, doesn't matter. Super safe floor. Yep. Which leaves my other tight end and my quarterback. I think I'm going to have to do a nice Caleb Williams, Colston Loveland stack this week, man. Rome Odunze, they're probably shutting him down for the year.
He's out, right?
For the regular season. I think they're trying to just give him as much rest for the playoffs as possible. DJ Moore coming off an illness. He might have a big game. I will probably have some DJ Moore in a few contests. And Luther Burden got some quad injury. Unbelievable player, man. He jumped up huge in salary week over week. He's now on par with DJ Moore. But dealing with an injury, they might rest him. I'm not sure. So I love the Colson Loveland play, man. And Caleb, that's just chasing the 270 and a couple touchdowns, man. So I think they just throw the ball a lot. And on the defensive side, there's a ton of juicy ones. You go Jacksonville against Tennessee. Even though Cam Ward has been a little friskier the last few weeks, Houston versus Indy, that's probably a lock defensive play. But I'm going to go with Philadelphia against Washington. Marcus Mariota is not playing this week, so we got another Josh Johnson viewing experience there. And as much as Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt played well this past week, man, that was against the Dallas Cowboys. This is the Philadelphia Eagles with a healthy Jalen Carter. So, yep, that's rounded it out, man. Week 18, and I only play wild cards, so it's second to last big contest for the year.
Goodbye. I see. Okay. For this section, man, I remember talking to over unders, but I said screw it. This is the last game of the regular season. I'm just gonna pick a money line team because why not let it fly right now? The Bake Show over the Panthers, man. Let's get it done, man.
Wow.
I think it's a pick'em game. I truly think it's a true pick'em game. But they're at home with the advantage. And Mike Evans, man. Mike Evans is still Mike Evans. If you watch him play, oh my God, Mike Evans is still a special player. And I don't think he's really like regressed at all. If you watch him play, like Mike Evans is still the exact same guy. And you mentioned Chris Godwin with his blowout game last year. So he's getting his weapons back right now. Like perfect time. Hopefully, like you got to win this, make the playoffs right now. So this is time for the Bake Show to set up, right? So this is a high leverage game right now with all majority of his offensive weapons back, and Bucky Irving is back. So he's just getting his weapons back. Obviously, the Bake Show after that hot start kind of fell off a cliff. Honestly, him and Ibuka in the middle of the season, they were kind of bad. It was kind of bad. I was kind of surprised how bad they were, but I feel like they're going to finish strong right now, especially with the offensive weapons coming in. So I see a little 2.5. I'm going to get a little field goal game. Let me lock in the Bake Show against the Carolina Panthers.
It's a big pick.
In a high leverage game. Just in a high leverage game. I know Bryce Young. Not gonna lie, I saw some Panthers stuff. Like he looked kind of good. Like his rushing, like he got a little pep to his step, and he's making some good throws. Tech McMillan, obviously T-Mac is having a sensational rookie season, so he's really added another dimension to that offense as a receiver one, like a true receiver one, like a big long guy where he looks awesome this year. But I'm gonna go with the veteran receivers right now because all the tools are coming back at the opportune time right now. Mike Evans, Godwin, Ibuka, come on, let's get it done.
Don't throw Ibuka in there, man. Come on.
I still believe in him.
Not this year.
I don't even know how to explain it's just Baker's still playing decent. I don't know what's going on. Maybe just he literally hit a wall. But I'm staying away from that game because I'm 1-1 with the Panthers this year. But then it's like, you know what? I'm just going to stay far away from it. I don't know how it's going to go. So to your point, people, there is a lot of just like crazy spreads and teams. It's like either going to be sitting guys or there's going to be guys who are going to be trying to reach incentives. So I literally just really closed my eyes and threw like, okay, 2 darts of like games where it's like, oh, well, it's like I like how this team kind of looked last week and maybe they carried their momentum. So going right now, Browns 7.5 versus the Bengals. Maybe they finish strong. Myles Garrett sack. I don't think he's got the sack total yet. Right?
Nope.
Yeah. So maybe he's going to try to get against Joe.
100%.
I think they keep the game close, so I think you can take the not money line, but you can take the plus 7.5. And then with, I think it's Green Bay versus Minnesota, plus 5.5. Malik Willis, I think, is going to play. They said he could have entered last week after he got injured. I know the Vikings defense was insane, but I'm not a big proponent of J.J. McCarthy. I don't think any of us are. I don't think he's great. If anything, now that I'm thinking about it, I might just want to take the under. I think there's going to be probably a lot of running the ball and just doing whatever. So if I could look at actually right quick what it would be for the under on that.
It's got to be like 40.5 maybe.
Yeah, it's probably not great at all. So I'm looking right now. It says 36.5. That's actually
wow. That's pretty low. That's a little too low.
Yeah, it might be tough. Yeah, I thought it'd be at least like 40 or something. No, 36 is that. So maybe you want to go over. I don't know. It's minus 110 on both. But
if I remember, it's in Minnesota, right? So you got a dome. You got a dome, right?
Good, fireworks.
Maybe. 0 implications. JJ might just fling it, dude. To
team just be going over. Yeah. So I mean, if you took the plus 5.5 with the Packers, it's at plus 278. But if you took the over, that gives you plus 264. So it's a little bit better odds with the plus 5.5. But that's really it. I mean, there's just not a lot of games I would feel confident betting on this week. And to be honest, I wouldn't. I'm right now telling you, do not take these bets because anything can happen these last weeks. Like outside of the games that mean something to getting into the playoffs, like I would not touch these games because anything can happen.
See,
So
that's why I don't bet the
smart
sports
betting.
book, man. That's why you play individual players, man. You got the incentives.
Yeah. Props.
That selfishness.
No props.
Come on.
Oh, so
yeah, those props are very enticing. And it's funny because it's like I probably would say I do more like sports book spreads, but it's like when I'm in a pinch and it's like I kind of just want to do some props real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird. Not weird, but it's kind of coincidental. Like I usually do a little bit better. So it's just I don't know. Let's see. But last week for betting, we'll see next week going into the playoffs how we want to look at some of those games. If you want to play some bets on that, because the stakes will definitely be higher. We're going to be super interested in seeing who actually makes the playoffs, which teams, and the seedings and all that. So make sure you guys are tuned into the podcast. Tyson Talks _ on Instagram, Tyson Talks _ TikTok, Quantro Knows, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you give us a 5-star review, thumbs up, comment so we can get to the algorithms. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.